So the Women's World Cup started yesterday. Are you watching any of it?
Unfortunately not.
Well, it's only been a couple of matches.
That's
so
right.
far,
I'm not,
Australia.
but I tend to happen right towards the end when I see, a semi-final and final and
that's
it went to
true.
happen.
Did you watch it last time round?
Yes,
Yeah. And I was exactly that. I didn't really notice the beginning of the competition, and yet by the end, I was absolutely gripped. Got to the last 16, the quarterfinals, and I was really getting into it. And the skills on show are absolutely phenomenal, aren't they?
It is.
I think the Lionesses have done themselves a lot of favours anyway. They're becoming more
That's
watched,
right.
aren't they?
That's right. The more audience year after year. It's not just the Premier League. It's not just the
Absolutely. More grassroots than anything. I think it encourages more girls to get into sport.
100%. 100%.
So we've got a couple of weeks ahead of us with sport. With that and Tour de France and the Ashes and everything.
Wow.
So we're busy. Right, okay, should we do a podcast?
Please, go ahead, Dave, go ahead.
So hello and welcome again to the SME Growth Podcast from Wellmeadow. Every week we come together, either just me and Rich or with a guest, and we talk about something that may be of interest to especially small and medium-sized enterprises on their journey to grow. It could cover anything from the marketing and sales function through to coping with the growth when it comes through to increase capacity and capability of their organizations. So I'm very pleased to announce that this week we have a guest. And hello, Khalid Said.
Hi, thank you, Dave.
Welcome to the SME Growth Podcast.
Thank you very much, and well done for pronouncing my name correctly.
Did I get that right?
Absolutely.
Gosh, well, I've only known you for 10 years or so. I've been practicing it.
For years, they still call me Khalid instead of Khalid. Yeah.
Khalid, yeah. So you work for an organization called IMIG, which we want to introduce in a moment. But the topic of today's podcast really intrigued me. I've got a bit of a background, nowhere near like yours, but a bit of a background around continuous improvement, Lean, Six Sigma, that type of thing. So I've always taken a bit of a view of it. And it's very much pros and cons. I've always had a bit of a love-hate relationship with the idea because it's clearly brilliant when it works well, but I've seen it misapplied so many times as well. You were telling me about an approach that you take through your company, which really inspired me actually. And I wish that I'd come up to a company like you back when I was running factories, because I think that is the way to do it. And it just goes to show you need a certain scale, a certain approach to get it. So I wanted you to come in and tell us all about that today, because I'm sure members of our audience will be interested in
I hope so.
So you happy to do that?
I'm 100%. Absolutely.
Why don't you start off then, just get the advert out of the way. Tell us a little bit about IMIG, the company, what they do and where they operate and that type of thing.
IMIG obviously is an international management and innovation group. So it's a very 25 years old company with various presence and entities, presence around the world. We're passionate, absolutely passionate about our products, because we think of our partners and the benefit of our partners ahead of everything else.
Very admirable. Well, it has to be, doesn't it? Otherwise, you don't get repeat business. And I think that's probably one of the things in this area about improvement, continuous improvement especially, is that it can be seen as a good thing to do with intangible benefits. But actually, it's a very hard-nosed numbers thing. You're not going to do it if it doesn't produce enough return that you can pay to do it again. This isn't a nice to have.
If it's not sustainable, you've wasted your efforts and money.
But the point is, and you explained this to me before, this really does have a benefit that you can audit, and we'll come back to that later as to how you do that. But you can show, backed up by the internal people, that this pays back multiples of the cost of doing it by doing it this way. And I think that's where I've seen it fail in the past, where nobody has that belief that it has delivered that sort of impact. But your experience is, and you're going to tell us today how you do that it does come up with that sort of benefit. So very exciting journey ahead then. Strap in for the next half an hour and we'll go through Khalid's model of how to do it. So it's all about continuous improvement. Just why don't we give a quick definition of what we mean by that? I think most people are familiar with the general area, but how do you describe continuous improvement in a business context?
The whole concept of this is the main purpose of our program is that building continuous improvement culture.
Yeah, okay. So it's more about the culture than the technique. It all comes together.
That's right. It's not just about the tools, it's about the culture. If you build a culture, you can sustain it. So you're driven by process, managed by facts. So you are not relying on just people, you're relying on a process that people follow.
Okay. And your mission is to embed that, not
Correct.
do it to somebody, but to transfer that culture so that a company does it for itself.
That's right. And that's why we give it that exact name. That is exactly why we worked hard to come out with a...
So what's the name you've given this approach?
We call it the capability by conversion.
Capability
CPC.
by conversion.
Capability
CPC.
by conversion.
Okay.
So
it already sounds very...
honestly, it's tried and tested. It's absolutely amazing, and it really impacts the individuals before they leave the course, or even before they, oh God, and some of them, guess what? They say, oh, we've been there, done it before.
Yeah. I bet you get a lot of that, yeah.
When they leave, you can measure. We measure the mood. And
so it's worth saying at the beginning then, if you're listening to this and you think, this is another one of those lean things. So I've seen that before. We've even run some programs. Yeah, they're okay. They're sort of flash in the pan. They came and went. They didn't really stick around. This is different. And you're going to explain how this approach makes it different. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So you've got a number of phases to this, and you were talking to me about this a couple of weeks ago, and we thought that's got to be worth exploring and sharing with our audience.
And this is when you got hooked.
Yeah, I got hooked. So go on, take us through the steps. Then what's the first step you do in this capability by conversion process?
The first thing is that we call it is the scoping stage.
Okay.
See how far the company wants to go, which department, how number of people, the number of people need to attend, what type of modules we need to have to suit different layers of the organization.
Okay.
So you don't want to put people on a course that they're never going to use it.
So like any good project, there's a good project initiation phase to make sure that everybody's understood the scope and the remit. Who's involved. Okay. So we've gone through that stage. Then what's the first thing
then
that people
goes to the readiness check.
Okay.
Readiness stage. We have a one-to-one with the people. And obviously the exec team, because we want to have everyone at the wave one to go through the course.
So wave one of what?
Of the program, of the training.
Of training. So there's a training, for everybody?
Every single person within the organization have to know the journey the company's going.
And this is as much, if it's a manufacturing organization, it'll be the office staff as well as the shop floor staff.
That's
every single employee.
That's right. Yeah. And this is applicable not just in manufacturing, any industry you can think of.
So what sort of, when we're saying training, what sort of training are we talking about here? Is it classroom-based, chalk and talk type stuff?
The 1 day, it's only 1 day, just to give people a flavor of what is continuous improvement is all about. Mm-hmm. And let's remember, continuous improvement is about small incremental change.
Yeah.
It's not about innovation. It's not about long-term projects. It's about small incremental change. Spot the waste and go and remove it. Spot the waste, process waste, and remove it.
Okay. And that 1 day of training, how would participants of that describe it? Would they say it was very like a lecture, was it very academic, or is it quite hands-on and fun? Or how do you
we don't want to kill people by slides and presentations. We keep them engaged. We keep them in the room with us. So I use a lot of my ears and other than my mouth. Mm-hmm. I'll get them to interact, and
so it's quite participative.
That's right. We want to get their feelings. Yeah. Because remember, this is an opener for a long term for another. For wave 2.
I'll come to next in a minute.
That's
so
right.
So it starts then with this wave 1 training, and then you talked about this readiness check stage. That's that right? Yeah. So that comes after the training, does it?
That's correct.
And you mentioned one-to-ones. How does that work?
The one-to-one, we have a standard sheet which we asked certain questionnaires.
This is everybody that's been on the course?
No, only the people we think can be potential subject matter expert or champions.
Right. We'll come to define those in a moment. Then. So, and is that just your decision, or can people volunteer?
It's a combination between the stakeholders and the people who.
So it's a very inclusive process in that everybody's involved. And as part of that 1 day course, you explain what's going to happen next and the opportunities available to adopt other roles.
That's right.
And then they'll either shine and show an interest, or you'll spot a talent. And one way or another, you have a set of people, you do this one-to-one check.
That's right.
So what's involved in that one-to-one? What are you checking for?
Before the one-to-one, just remember that the sponsor of the program from the client of our partner will he will have a brief where he will brief everyone this is the program going forward. This is what we're going. We would like to build a sustainable continuous improvement culture.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they've set the scene, made it quite clear
what
that this is their buy-in, they're behind
That's
it
right.
full square. Yeah.
Then the readiness is about actually checking, see, okay, what kind of resistance the individuals have? What kind of blockers would they face when they come to convert the theory to practical, when they go back after the training?
Now, this really interested me when you told me about this. You're not testing how keen they are on improvement per se. You're checking for this resistance point.
That's
what
correct.
would get in your way?
That's right. What would a blocker be? What type of blockers you have? Because we have to make sure that those blockers are not there or will be controlled.
And just as an example, what sort of blockers do you tend to find in those one-to-ones?
The common one, when people go back to leave the training course, what's the first thing they're going to do? They want to go back to their day job.
Back to the day job, yeah.
Oh, I've got loads of email to catch up. Oh, I've got a lot of backlog I need to catch up. So that has to be addressed.
Yeah, okay.
So you have to create the environment that ready for people to go and implement their improvements.
Right. So, and at this stage, you're testing who might be possible for a champion role or a subject matter expert role.
Correct.
Why don't you just explain what each of those roles do then?
So start from the second. A subject matter expert is a person who will become expert on this particular tool.
A tool, a continuous improvement tool of some sort, of which presumably there are many.
It could be workplace organization, could be visual management, could be practical problem solving.
Okay. Yeah.
So you build, and the whole purpose of this is you build internal capability within an organization and subject matter experts that they can do it without IMIG.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the SME, the subject matter expert.
That's right.
And what about the champion then?
The champions are the people who will manage those SMEs. The champions are going to be continuous improvement champions. Will be so guys, okay, they'll be controlling all these improvements coming from all departments, and they will send them across to various SMEs.
So in a firm of a certain size, a larger firm maybe, you could imagine a person having a full-time job as the continuous improvement manager. In a bit larger again, you'd have a continuous improvement department potentially.
That's correct.
So if we're starting from scratch here, you're looking for candidates to either be that department of one or to lead that department. That would be the champion.
That's right. That's right.
Whereas the SMEs, they're not full-time in this role. They've still got their day job.
That's correct.
They just have this extra expertise.
That's correct.
And they just lend it to projects when they come up. Is that the idea?
First of all, it has to be built within job description.
Oh, really?
Right.
Absolutely.
So
it's quite formalized.
Absolutely. It has to be clear that your job description, you are machine operator, for example, and part of your job, you have to go and implement one improvement per month or per week or whatever.
Yeah.
If you are a finance man or you are in purchasing department, is built within your scope that you must implement one improvement per week.
That's
or
part of the job description.
That's right.
And do these people tend to come from the more middle and senior manager ranks of the organization? Or
to be quite honest, Dave, they come from all different departments, all different levels. Yeah, but some people use it as a way to get promoted and grow further within an organization.
Okay, understandable. And I guess you can quite often find people very interested in this and looking for a way of developing their career.
That's right.
Alongside whatever they've done before.
That's right. So the last client we finished this with, they end up with a continuous improvement department with 5 SMEs and 1 champion.
Wow, that must be a company of some size, I guess.
Yes, they had about 340, 350 people.
Yeah, a reasonable size.
That's right.
But does it still work for firms much smaller than that?
It does,
I wonder
absolutely.
if there were 50 employees in a small manufacturing firm.
It works with one client. He only had 1 champion, and he's the only continuous improvement guy.
Right, and the total number of employees in that type of firm would be
between 40 to 50 people.
Yeah, it could still work at that scale.
That's right. But what's important is he needs to transfer what he learned to others.
Yeah. So there's a passion for that and an ability to use.
Absolutely.
So we've done the Wave 1 training. Everybody's gone through that, an awareness day, quite fun, quite hands-on. Then there's been this readiness check stage where there's lots of one-to-one interviews with those, checking for resistance.
That's right.
So, okay, what happens after that then?
After that, you will run the tailored training program. And
so
now
another wave of training now.
That's right. Now you're talking about 3 to 5 days training.
A bit more intensive now.
That's right.
Would this be everybody again?
No, they'll be the selected potential SMEs or champions.
Oh, okay, right. So how many of the 100% before might
You want to aim for 40%.
Oh, so still quite a lot then in terms of a pool
that's right.
you might be choosing from.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
So 40%, let's say, of the population having 3 to 4 days out. I can imagine now the reaction of various people listening, running a business or a production area or any department, thinking that's a lot. I'm going to lose another 3 days. I've already lost 1 day for everybody. Now I'm going to lose another 3 days of nearly half my people. So it's starting to get a feel. This is where the investment comes in. Right? It's the time that you have to take out.
That's right.
And do people tend to backfill this somehow with overtime, or do they take on temps to back up, or is it just they have to get on with it?
It all depends on the organization and the workload. But most importantly is the delivery of the 3 days is spread based on their availability. Right. So it doesn't have to be straightforward. It could be a delay of 1 month, for example.
So it doesn't have to be 3 days in a block.
It doesn't.
Oh, okay. So that I can imagine that a bit more manageable then.
That's
so
right.
1 day at a time minimum, really. So daily blocks.
You could do 1 day per week, but you can't have a massive gap, because otherwise they lose the connection.
But a day a week could be manageable over 3 weeks. That's your course.
That's correct.
And lots of companies, of course, have got training aspirations, KPIs. It's good anyway, isn't it, to have a certain amount of training, continuous development of your own team.
That's
anyway.
right.
And so this 3 days, does that come across as different from the first day? How do people feel about that?
It is more, because now you're getting into the details of the tools within the continuous improvement. Now it's broken down in about 60 to 70% about simulation exercises, interaction. They'll stand up and they'll complete exercises and puzzles and
a bit more hands-on.
That's right. And the other 30% is just literally materials and presentation. And you spot during that is what we call rowers, rudders, and anchors.
Okay.
Yeah. So who are the people?
Rowers, rudders, and anchors.
Rowers and rudders and anchors. So the people who are really good at leadership. Oh, guys, let's go. Oh, we're getting distracted, moving away from come back. So these are potential leaders, and the rowers are people actually just do it. Just give me what I want, and I'll just go and do it. Okay. So they could fall towards the SME side, where the rower could actually become part of as champion.
Be part of the job description.
That's right. Where the anchors, oh my God, no, we don't need them, because they're just literally a blocker.
Yeah, and that happens in any organization. People have got different priorities in life, and maybe their job isn't everything. That's fine. That's right. What makes the rich tapestry of who we all are. So I come through this then. If I've been on one of these 3 day ones, I've been lucky enough to be one-to-one and pass through that resistance check on my readiness check, and I'm keen to go further. I want to take it to the next stage. So what happens next to me?
Is the 3 day.
So after the 3 day, though, I've come through the 3 day, and I'm now thinking, hey, this is good. I'm getting into this.
Yeah.
How do I take this further?
Now, at the end, obviously, this will be explained to them from the first day of the 3 day,
right,
or 5 days of. You will be expected at the end of the 3 days to sign, or you will given a learning contract.
A learning contract.
Okay. Where you have 1 week to populate, sign it, and get it signed by your manager.
So a week to think about it, fill it in.
And then say, okay, during the training, they already shared with the group some of the problems they have.
Right. So they come out on the way through. Yeah.
That's right. So we create a car park with all improvements, all ideas they could actually implement. And then they'll have a week to say, okay, here's my learning contract. And within that learning contract, he just explains the problem.
Yeah.
What is the solution? And which tool he will use to remove this problem or implement his solution.
Okay.
Sign it, put the date, and sign it by his manager and submit it.
Okay, right. So I do that then. I get my learning contract, come up with a project idea that's already been flushed out through Wave 2 training, get my manager to sign it. I'm starting to get excited about it. Am I still having to compete with others to be allowed to go ahead with my project, or does everybody get to have a go?
Now, it depends on the size of the organization, depends on how many delegates attended the course.
Yeah.
It could be every learning contract is 4 people. So it could be a project consist of 4 team members, or it could be everyone is just going to go and do one learning contract. And they have 4 weeks, only 4 weeks to close their improvements. This is not about long-term projects. It's more about small incremental change.
Yeah.
So they go in, implement it, and part of IMIG, we coach them. We coach them after, because it's all about converting the learnings.
So you haven't left anybody alone.
We haven't.
You're around, your hands on.
That's right. We are still supporting them. Depends on the size of the organization and number of projects.
Mm-hmm.
We could be there 5 days a week, or could be there 1 day per week. Then at the end, they will submit an improvement summary.
Okay.
Improvement summary says, this is the situation before, this is what we've done, and this is the situation after.
And are they encouraged at that stage to put that in financial terms, or is that not the focus at this stage?
The bottom right-hand corner is the improvement benefits.
The value of it.
Value. And that gets signed by the relevant stakeholder. Okay, yes, okay. You have done 55% efficiency for me. That 5% efficiency for me could mean £120,000 or could be £10,000.
But it could have been less tangible and intangible benefit.
Absolutely. It could be we saved an hour a day, or could be we optimized our process,
or a safer environment, or
a safer environment. Absolutely, better quality. Could be all different elements of improvement. Yeah. But it's so important. This improvement summary will not be submitted and approved without clear benefits.
Yeah. Okay. I understand that. So we're at the stage now where we've run a number of projects. Depending on the size of the company, it might have been a couple, it might have been lots, but there's been a whole wave of projects, and you and your colleagues have been there helping the various candidates that have shown an interest to do a good job and to make sure that they get their improvements. Yeah. But you've still got all of those people that were involved in that second wave of training somehow involved, either on a team or as a potential subject matter. So there's still a lot of people here all vying for where do I go next with this? You've built a certain level of expectation, and that's part of the trick here, isn't it? How do you not let people down? You've built it up as this big thing,
and that's why it has to be supported. Remember, the traditional. I'm not going to say every organization, but some organizations is top down. The continuous improvement culture inverts that triangle.
The very bottom up, yeah.
Correct. The people who understand their businesses, their processes, they're the ones who come with the improvements, and the team and the leadership supports those guys. Yeah. That's the whole thing, and that's the very important part of continuous improvement culture.
But it's not just bottom up, in that you talked before about the letter from the MD, if you like, that missive, that declaration of support, which is heartfelt from the main stakeholder of the business.
The sponsor of the program could be the top guy, could be the CEO, or some of his direct reports.
Yeah. But it's got to be somehow
issue a brief saying this is where the company is going, and this is the program. It starts this, and this is when it's going to end, and this is the vision and the objective from this program.
Yeah. Okay. So we've run all these projects. Then we've got some improvement summaries. Presumably, there's some sort of presentation is there for
That's
how
right.
it works. So what happens next?
So now it comes into the reward and recognition stage. So we have our improvements hopper, the learning contract hopper, which we map every learning contract. When is it due? When is it supposed to, the improvement summary submitted? Has it got an identified clear benefits? Yeah. And then becomes to the final presentation. So all the participants, all these potential champions and SMEs that come and present their improvement summaries to the sponsor. This is what we've done, and these are the benefits.
And do companies quite often make a bit of a special effort here to celebrate the successes?
That's right. And part of the investment from the customer, from our partners, is they will award them with the LCS accreditation, Lean Competency System accreditation, which is supported by Cardiff University.
Oh, okay. So that's a qualification.
That's right. From it. That's right. This is a recognition, rewards from the company saying, you have invested your time with us. You have done this. This is our reward. And this is now takes us to the next stage.
Yeah, the next stage. So you haven't finished yet. You're still involved.
No, because remember, Dave, what is the purpose? Is to build internal capability.
Yeah, I can sense that at this stage. We've got a certain body of excitement growing. Projects been run, and I've seen this go so many times to this stage, and that's when it sort of fizzles away a little bit. So what happens next is critical in my mind.
The final stage is the assess. Now, remember, we have to sustain it.
Yeah.
If you don't build internal capability, it's going to disappear, and people are going to think, oh, another flavor of the month.
Yeah.
So you assess and you build your subject matter expert and champions. Now we have those guys, and those guys now will take the.
So this is a more formal interview process, but based on the projects they've run.
Based on the submission, the submitted improvement summary, based on their character, based on their behaviors during all the program. There's so many different aspects you take into consideration to say, okay, you're ready, you can do it, and then their job description will change, and then they'll take that role.
So clearly the managers in the organization are instrumental in this. They're very much part of that selection process.
That's right.
You're supporting them and highlighting, but did you notice that, or what about this? But
that's right.
Ultimately, the internal managers are selecting presumably one champion as a minimum, maybe more, but certainly at least a champion, and then a number of subject matter experts who've shown some talent for one of the tools that you talked about.
That's right. One of our customers, the latest customer we completed the program with, based on their organization, they end up with a continuous improvement department with 1 champion and 5 SMEs.
And that then becomes part of the organization. It's a new department has been born.
It's a continuous improvement culture. This is happening. This is staying. This is not just a tester.
Yeah, and I think this is part of what I'm seeing as a key ingredient that often gets missed, especially if you send someone or several people away for some training on continuous improvement and they come back. That you've said afterwards, if we're going to carry on with this, we need someone, even if they're not full-time, but someone whose job it is to predominantly manage this through.
That's right.
But the difference seems to be that you've got a whole group of people who know what they're trying to do now. Whereas when someone comes back from a course, they're kind of in a sea of skeptics. And is that sort of part of your thinking in how you designed it this way, this idea of everybody having the training no matter who you are at the beginning?
That's right, because remember, we are introducing a different language, or language that might be available, they've experienced before, but a language that is staying. So all the acronyms, all the tools you be using becomes common.
So you've got a common language when we're talking about.
That's right, yeah. Now, the bottom line is that this program helps everyone, helps the organization that they have an engine generates more efficiency, more improvements, better and safe environment. And at the same time, you have changing the behaviors of the people. Because remember, continuous improvement is about the mindset.
You said at the beginning, it's the culture.
It's the culture. It's the mindset. And that's every SME and champions must be ready for change.
And there must have been times where you've really been quite amazed at someone who's ended up being the champion, who even the internal people who knew them quite well wouldn't have guessed in a month of Sundays that would the person that would shine through.
That's right. Absolutely.
That must be an amazing feeling when you're on tap.
Oh my God. And I'm still in touch with them. They still text me, message me. Oh, we've done this. Oh my God. For example, Dave called me the other day saying, oh my God, Khalid, we never thought we were going to go above 55% OE. Now we're 85% sustainable. Now our target never go below 85%. Wow.
Yeah, that's a big change.
That is the change. When somebody comes to me and say, wow, Khalid, I don't work weekends anymore. I actually don't work Saturdays and Sundays anymore.
So there's all sorts of other benefits there. And that is obviously going to be noticed inside the business at the financial level. You start taking OEE from 55% to 85%. Wow, think of the extra capacity you've just created and the efficiencies. So we're still left at this point where you've selected your champion or champions and certainly some subject matter experts, the SMEs. But now they need to do some more projects, right? Up till now, they've been doing them as part of their selection process. But now the rubber hits the road. They've really got to start getting on with some.
That's right.
Do you just run it again, doing another wave with you facilitating it all? Or at what point do you sort of cut the apron strings?
Once we develop them, theoretically speaking, we should be out.
So at this stage even?
Now we created the internal capability with the subject matter expert people. You don't need us. Now, unless they wanted a completely separate tool that these guys have never been taught or they've never learned.
So if it's gone well, at this point, you back away entirely. You've done enough work with your champion and your subject matter experts, and they pick it up and run with it.
Yeah, and by the way, a lot of, I'm going to say, a lot of my colleagues don't like it.
Right. Because they want to stay involved.
No, one of my colleagues who work in the same field what are you doing? You will losing clients because you build an internal capability. That means you're getting yourself out of a job.
Yeah.
But this is the benefit. This is the benefit of organization. They invested. They have to sustain it. Now, on average, at the moment, we are reaching, 7-to-1 or 1-to-7 net benefit or return investment benefits.
Now you mentioned the auditable benefits near the beginning.
Right.
So that's an impressive number, but just explain it in detail for me. 7 what to 1 what? How are you measuring that?
If the program costs £50,000 or costs, just make it simple. If it costs £100,000, they will get £600,000 to £700,000
of
gain.
Now, is that just you totting up some numbers and doing a bit of kidology? How do you come up with that number?
Every improvement summary that you will do from the end of the program or after, it will have to be aligned with the financial P&L or their department managers or the stakeholders. Yes, I can see. I have evidence seeing this. This is the benefit of it.
And in that cost, whether it be 50,000, 100,000, 5,000, that's not the cost of getting a load of consultants in on its own. That we're talking here about the time that we're investing in our existing employees to come off the job and just work on continuous improvement. Right. That's presumably the larger part of the cost if there's all these people.
That's correct.
So 7-to-1. And is that signed off by the stakeholder of each of the projects? When they all get added up, you want someone on the board level to sign that off well, I guess.
That's right. And that is what we want to see.
And so that's an average. What's the range? Do you ever get some that just don't even cover their costs?
The minimum is, the market is 3-to-1. Okay. That's the market. But at the moment, the lowest we've ever achieved, touch the wood, thank God, is 6-to-1. That's the lowest we've achieved so far. And some areas we achieved 10-to-1.
Wow.
In some organizations, trust me, honestly. And that's what we're proud of. And that's why.
Guarantee that, are we now?
Honestly, and that is why we're so passionate about what we deliver. And if it's a blocker, honestly, we will tell the customer, guys, you're going to lose your.
Yeah, has that ever happened? Do you ever get in at the beginning and you think, they're just going through the motions here? I'm not seeing the sponsor really believe in this. I'd rather walk away than fail.
At the readiness stage.
Right.
From readiness stage. Sorry, guys, you're not ready. This is the gap. This is the gap. This is the gap. Please, let's close it because we care about you. We protect our return on investment or net benefit ratio. We want to protect it as much as we don't want you to waste your money on and not getting any value.
Yeah. Okay, impressive. And I'm getting the impression that a lot of this does happen in manufacturing environments, but not exclusively. Can it work elsewhere in more office-based environments?
It does. We've done it in the railway. We've done it with financial departments. We've done it with food. I'm starting one next week in the food industry. So it works in various sectors.
Oh, okay.
And departments. So this is those tools, not just on the shop floor.
So when you talk about department, can you, especially if I'm thinking there's people here listening that say, I like the idea of this, but I'd like to dip my toe in the water and do a pilot study. Could you do it at department level rather than having to evolve the whole business? Or is that a no-go for you?
It could be department level. That's right.
Right. So if you've got a department of 10, 15, 20 people, you could say every one of those will get trained and we'll do it within ourselves, even if the rest of the business aren't involved.
We don't recommend it, but it can, but we don't recommend it because you need the whole value stream involved.
Right, okay.
Because you might improve the patiency department, you might improve the HR department, but if it's not linked to where the value is being added, you're not going to really gain long-term benefits.
Sure. And I suppose also there's an argument of efficiency of the training. Once you've got a trainer in, you'd like them to train as many people as you can fit in the room.
That's right.
How many people can be on a program at once?
Minimum 12, maximum 18.
Okay.
So with one, you could have one consultant delivering or one facilitator. With 18, you could end up with 2 people.
Right, okay. But the point is you want to have enough people involved in the program that you're getting a big body of people getting that training.
Correct.
Even if there's several waves of that, you run the one-day session several times. You want ideally everybody to be talking using the same language.
That's right.
Fascinating. Pretty good. I'm very proud. I'd love to see this 7-to-1 thing. That's great.
I can share with you, honestly, some really case studies, but obviously because of privacy, because of confidentiality, I can't mention the customers, but you can absolutely. There's some case studies we got approval from our customers to share. No problem, I can share with you.
Yeah, great. Well, it'd be good if you can do that. And similarly, for some of these basic templatey things, if you can share any of those, and we can put those on the website for people to download. Clearly, have your company's branding on it. But it'd be nice if people can just see the way you've gone about it, because you don't have to. No disrespect, it doesn't have to be your company doing this. This is a great template for someone to follow. But unless you've got the skills in house to do the facilitation, you're going to have to get them from somewhere. At least for this CBC period that you're running it for. And how long are we talking, from scoping through to when you back out and leave them to run it on their own?
Oh, some organization could be 3 months, could be 6 months, and the one we've just about to sign is 1.5 years.
Okay, so there's obviously a range for size of company. Right. But if a company wanted to really push themselves through that, they could imagine it as a 3 to 6 month program.
That's right. That's correct. That's correct.
And that's interesting to note as well for seasonal businesses. There's a few seasonal businesses we work with that couldn't touch this with a barge pole during their busy season.
That's right.
But they don't like to lose the skills and often retain skills when they're less busy through the quieter patch. What a great time to invest in the training, because that cost you've talked about, the opportunity cost is a lot lower, isn't it? If really there isn't the same pressure to get the work out.
That's right. That's right.
Great time to do it. Well, Khalid, thank you very much for coming in.
My pleasure,
talking
Dave.
about all that.
Absolute
As I said
pleasure.
to you before, I was interested in the approach, the way you very systematically have thought about this, and the fact that having done it that way so many times and I've got this track record of that multiple of benefits over the costs. Very impressive work.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good luck with all of that you're
Thank
doing.
you for the time.
And I hope somebody listening has just had a bit of a thought, a seed planted in their mind to think, you know what? However I go about it, I've got to think again about this. I may have tried these continuous improvement programs before, this lean stuff, but I can see that if it's structured well and everybody's involved, then the benefits are there to be had.
And they can contact us anytime if they have any other questions. We're more than happy to fulfill.
Thanks, Khalid. Well, I'm sure people will see this promoted on LinkedIn and on YouTube and on Instagram and on our blogs, and they'll see it and they'll know who you are. They know where you live.
Oh dear.
They'll come and get you. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dave, and thank you for having me.
So you've been listening to another episode from the SME Growth Podcast from Wellmeadow. As I say, we come up with different topics each week, and this week we've been learning all about the continuous improvement philosophies from IMIG and from Khalid in particular. So thanks again to Khalid for coming in today. Every week I ask you to pass on the news about our podcast to your business contacts. Please follow us on Spotify, Apple, or wherever else you get your podcasts. But anyway, good luck with your business.